Okay. Oh, you can go ahead, yeah, because otherwise people are up alone in their rooms, and I'm starting to feel more awkward thinking about that.
Well, we can see a celebrity in the room. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm back on the other side of the sex boutique, so I don't get the feed. At least not that one. All right, well, I guess we'll jump in. I promise this is not actually about how to pay for tickets. I feel like it does require some kind of haiku or something, which I'm not clever enough to create 5, 7, and 5 syllables or whatever it is. Yeah, it's I'm Abe Miller. I'm well, who am I? Again, I'm from Chicago-ish area. It's an old thing. I don't know how many of you are from Chicago. Anyone? Or Chicago proper, or from Chicago? Yeah. So I was, so I can give you away one of my "Where were you born?" answers to my security questions is I was not actually born in Chicago, but I grew up there, second grade on, and then I moved out to the Boondocks, which is Elgin, Illinois. Which Elgin. I hope they have you on recorder too. The what? So why am I presenting today? Well, there's a bit of an awkward, funny story about that. Now, if you read, I imagine most of you actually read, I guess, the application summary that was placed out there. It's pretty straightforward. I was a desperate man, and working for a new employer without a corporate card, and I don't know the PO purchase process. And I got to the Derbycon site, and I'm a noob for the Derbycon. You know, I've been to ThoughtCon several times. I've been to those out west, but I was really myself and my teammate were really going gung ho to get the training in, right? And well, there was no information. I think many of you already saw that, many of you already knew, so it wasn't an issue. But me being me, it just came down to I had to solve the problem some way, and the thoughts of using social media never occurred to me because I'm very much, I guess, a Web 1.0 guy. So, I mean, I do have a Twitter handle that has 3 entries from 5 years ago. But I don't know, I used the only entry I could find, which was, as you know now, the site submission form, which is, hey, now you have a backdoor into this conference if anyone cannot make the cut in the first few days. Ticket sales next year, I suppose. Just gotta make the crew laugh. I'm assuming that as long as this doesn't bomb completely and you all walk away. So the best chances you have is to endorse me fully afterward. Anyway. All right. So why am I actually presenting? So it really comes down to, on this tiny screen of me saying, it was just me being myself, being goofy, and thinking naively that someone was actually watching the page, the session submission forms on an hourly basis. Well, obviously I've never thrown a conference, so I should have known better. But, so what am I presenting? And so this is where the little funny part of the story comes, is that we managed to buy the training. Turned out you guys take Discover card, correct? So, woo, the only family card we still had enough on. And so I bought the training, it wasn't a problem, and then a week goes by, and then all of a sudden I get it was a few weeks went by, and I got the auto email that says, your submission is progressing. I'm like, what? And I was like, and I'm yelling at my wife in the kitchen, who I think promptly started ignoring me. But I said, it's so weird. What? And I'm like, I got my question about how to buy tickets became a session. Or not yet, but they're still in there. I thought for sure they would flush it. So I'm just getting to...
With us.
Oh, man, it is warm. I need it. Thank you for covering the bass on that one. That was good. I actually like that song. Anyway. 3 girls, man. I have 3 girls, so. Yeah, so, that's why I'm like, wouldn't it be so weird if they actually got my humor and they're gonna go ahead and make it an actual session? And my wife, like, listening to me just like always is like, what? You want burgers? I'm like, never mind. But anyway, it just comes down to, then flash forward a few more weeks. I'm going to bed at 10 p.m. because I don't actually hack. And, I just happen to check my email. And there's an email from Dave Kennedy. I'm like, I don't know any Dave Kennedy. Who's this guy? And, hey man, summary, we reviewed this and you made us laugh. And I'm like, well, that's good. I did it all through grade school. And as it turns out, he offered me the chance to present on whatever the heck I want. It only took me about 30 seconds to answer him. I was like, yeah, if you're who I think you you are. But, yeah, okay, I can do that. I already have tickets, by the way. You don't have to send me tickets. It's no problem. I didn't think I had another coworker I forgot who did try to get tickets and didn't. So Bethune is lucky. He made it in. The rest of the folks I got didn't work out. But anyway. So what was I gonna, present on? So the theme comes down to, I almost feel like I'm gonna be a Debbie Downer now. Alright, so if I got in being me, then I should give you some of me in the non-physical sense. Yeah. Hey, we're on this side of the Love Boutique. You're fine. You're fine. I walked past it for the last 3, 5, or 4 days, right? And I'm sorry. I have a problem with the mannequins. Why are they still using mannequins from the 70s in there? There should be a whole market. What do we call it? The untapped market of mannequins? They should totally update. Anyway, I have ADD. I'm throwing that out there. But one of the other things I had, there was a whole row, 2 rows full of students that were following the previous presenter, and I think some of this would apply to them. But and there was a presentation earlier today, and there's been a presentation lately. But the theme being, you name it, right? Inferiority complex, confidence issues, whatever you want to call it. All right, what's the latest? Imposter syndrome. Like, it sounds like a nefarious character, which I think almost was. So to me, if I was going to give you something of mine that I think I have some value in talking about, is overcoming insecurity to a degree, right? I guess it's the silent thing. We can all hear the loud, chaotic noise that's in our own heads, but we never hear it in everyone else's, except for the 124 characters or whatever it is for Twitter that come through every once in a while, right? Or my ridiculously overly long Facebook posts to my family. But the reality is we all struggle. And so I wanted to get into, why do we feel insecure? And I don't know why everyone does. I was a very confused guy going into college. So I started off with journalism, went to biology, met a girl, went into political science, because she was in political science. And then I almost went into urban planning before my GPA just was dropping. I owed too much to a credit card company, so I left college, went to go work for a credit card company, and then rebooted my career, but they would only pay you to go back if you did it in your career field, which by then I had discovered, hey, look, I'm still pretty good with computers, so I went back for computer science. Fast forward, here I am. But I had to go through this whole period where I'm like, I want to be a security person to round myself out. But then you get in there and it's like, man, there's a lot to know, right? And you're going into these conversations and people are like, well, why shouldn't I have Telnet open to the internet? And those conversations were still taking place up to 5 years ago, right? And anyway, and early on, it's your struggle because I said so. What do you say? Yeah, it's very much, I learned some of the lesson when I was a hardware tech years before that, that if you ever came up to a customer or a client, if you had any hint of they're like, what's wrong with your computer? And they're like, I don't know. But if you could say, I don't know in a very forceful way, they tend to accept that. It's like if you can say you're unknown in a very confident fashion, people accept that. But if you have any hint of self-doubt, that's when you usually found yourself on a Sunday afternoon being yelled at by a morbidly obese woman. Still nightmares. Anyway, but so why, but I don't know why everyone else does, right? So I took the classes. Social psychology teaches you one thing, and I'm going to say this much about it. Was one lesson that always sticks through me in the social psychology class I took was about, and some of you may have heard this example about the woman in New York back in the 60s or early 70s who was stabbed in broad nighttime. On a very, but see, there was witnesses up the wazoo. There was like at least 12 witnesses who witnessed her being stabbed, and nobody called the police. Right? And they call that, you actually experience it on a daily basis now if you work in corporate America by asking for something and sending more than 2 people in the to address. It's called diffusion of authority. Everyone thinks someone else is going to do it. Right? That's why I tell you, by the way, if you are helping with someone in cardiac arrest or, CPR, you point at someone and say, you go call the whatever. Right? Because now it's one person being picked. You don't just scream, "Can someone get help?" Because then everyone just waits for someone else to get help. All right, so now that I've explained that to you, by social psychology, there's another term by a name I cannot remember to help save my life, but you will not ever fall for that. Okay, this will now be in the back of your head. It's like a woman got stabbed with a dozen witnesses. No one did anything, but if any one of them had ever heard this story, they would have known, oh my God, everyone else is probably thinking, not to call, someone else can do it. I better be that person. Right? All right. So, for what it's worth, like I said, I don't know what anyone else's reasons for feeling insecure about the world may be, but I know where mine are, and I know some of the roots are. I can get into a lot of that babble, but there's not enough time, and I think we're already getting close. But so on to what I'm hoping that should be fun. Tissues will be handed out later. Don't worry. So why? I blame the roots, the very beginnings of my insecurity on one man in particular. Beautiful, blonde-haired, long locks guy. MacGyver. Yeah, this son of a bitch, excuse me, could do anything. In his very first episode, right, he leaps off the plateaus of somewhere in China with an ultralight made out of, I don't know, steel tubing. And somehow manages to fly and not plummet to his death right there, right? And from then on, it just defies reason, but he was amazing at that age, right? Oh, I was born mid-70s, and God, I wanted to be MacGyver. So bad. So bad. And he's actually just a real person, but you don't really differentiate that. And especially I grew up in inner city Chicago at this point, right? This guy was like, man, he could get himself out of any situation. That last summer being stuck by the tree hanging from a large branch for 15 minutes waiting for someone to save me, I could have got out of it if I was MacGyver instead of having to just drop. But, anyway, this is like one of the things. We start to put other people on pedestals, and it happens very early on. Now, I didn't know I was going to be a security guy, 20 plus years later. But this is where the foundation starts. And then there's one more. Now, granted, this is more for if anyone's ever had to deal with bullies or anyone else who ever bothered them for no particular reason other than that you weren't them, right? Then you could blame this guy, right? For any other ones. I mean, he could do anything. Granted, he was a billionaire. We can argue about who is the greatest superhero. Batman is. But the reality is, he could do it was all with the power of his brains and a really large reservoir of funds and other scientists doing stuff for him. But you don't really think about that as a kid. You're just thinking, this guy could get out of anything. Even the campy 60s, 70s show, you had the same bat channel, like the laser or whatever it was, that was about to cut him in two right up the groin, which was always a common theme with him. Very strange. But he always got out of it, right? There was always something in that damn yellow utility belt that we all want. But he always had a trick up his sleeve, which was something I always sort of envied. But, we get around it to a degree, but we get in this field, and so we're kind of overwhelmed with the idea that we have to know all the things, right? And it's almost becoming a trope within our field to have a presentation where we say, know all the things, right? All the things, just whatever. Or at least try them. And that's what I think I've gotten to more of, I found some kind of steady state that said, yeah, man, you're not going to be everything to everyone. And maybe I'm just lucky. I came into the middle of this field, right? I came in after most of the pioneers sort of set the stage for us, right? And I don't know, I guess, and I had a number of meetings. I also overcompensated by a large degree. I have a good sizable student loan debt just because I figured, dude, I'm not going to feel comfortable until I have a master's degree. So I ended up rebooting to get my computer science degree. I know, it's not necessary. And I will not advocate it. But if you feel like you need it, and you can live with it, then hey, it doesn't hurt other than the bill once a month for the next 15 years. So what I came down to is learning, and this is the one counterpoint I'll say to us saying, hey, we need to make this field more professional, and that's fair, except that the world is still shaken out, right? We are like the medical profession medical profession of the 1800s. I mean, we're just barely getting out of bleeding people for the heck of it. Let's shut it all down. All right. So the days of no are gone, right? Hopefully, in everyone's organizations. But the reality is every business is different, right? Doctors have the opportunity of saying, I know I'm going to work in a hospital someday or a clinic that's always staffed and set up the same way, right? How many people report to the CIO, and then how many of you report to CFOs or report to somewhere other, right? Or don't. You're in a blob. You happen to be tasked with security because you're the guy who once asked someone for a badge, So, it's, the point is, we have no choice but to try everything. And I think the big thing, this is what I'm trying to instill with my own daughters, and hi, Maddie, hi, Emmy, if you happen to watch this, is that it's, you can't know everything, right? And everyone tells you that. But the biggest thing really what you need to do is turn around and then, first off, keep in mind that imposter syndrome is a syndrome. That's not a light term. It means it happens a lot. It means there's a lot of people. So one off, take some solace in knowing you're not alone in whatever mental noise is going on in your head, right? Two, screw them. I mean, my God. I had a stint as a director because they needed someone to become a director, and I made the mistake of going, okay. And one guy I hired, he was just paranoid we were going to get breached. And I'm like, dude, if we got breached, that could be the best thing for your career because you're already pre-disastered. You could go out of here. Yeah, I lived through a breach. The reality is we all present our suggestions, right? Do they always take them? No, even if you know all the things, does that fix it? No. I mean, so what I've come to grip is I really do drive to make my place more secure. I'm trying to help my employers and my coworkers stay employed, right? So my daughters can keep taking clarinet lessons in the basement. But it's at the, it's a point of admitting, you know what? I can't do that. We're going to have to bring someone in, right? And sometimes it's like, I've told you this 10 times. We're bringing someone in so they can tell you that. So then it sounds legit, right? We just admit it. So that's the kind of thing. Now, that all said, oh, damn. I just went ahead and just talked about imposter syndrome, even though I was going to say, look at the other presentation earlier, which, by the way, she didn't use any deck, so I can't even refer to hers. But, so you just have to find some inner peace, right, with yourself. And that's the only way it's going to be personal to everybody on how you learn and how you tackle, challenges. But there's still an issue, right? And the big one is, especially, I think for our career field, I don't see that many older information security guys that work with me, right? I mean, there's plenty of professionals here, but I look around and I'm like on the forward edge of the curve now. Yeah. Oh, very good. You see? Yeah. I love my sloping lines. Anyway, but it's the realization that time is coming down. Oh, here you go. Getting depressing again. But the point is more about, this is really about the given day. Alright, so if I pick, today I'm going to learn PHP. And I actually had to do this 3 weeks ago. I had to learn enough to be able to use bcrypt to tear apart a bunch of half-baked passwords that were just handed to us by an information sharing service. And I'm like, thanks guys. So, to figure out which ones actually matched, and I decided to teach myself in about 8 hours how to at least run this, right? Yay for me. I was very, very freaking proud of myself. I'm like, hey, the brain cells can just still do this new stuff. It's pretty good. But what did I do the rest of that day? Nothing else. It was just learning that, right? And there's only so much time we have, and yeah, we all know budgets are pretty tight. So there's this other thing I've learned now as I'm hitting this middle-ish ages, or this one stage in your career where you go, all right, I still have to frickin' fit everything in. So enter the new heroes. We have to master time. So naturally, there's two new ones that come to mind. One, you guys know who's coming already, right? Yeah. This one, not the other two. Anyway, yeah. David Tennant was my first doctor as an adult anyway, so. But All right, so yeah, if we had time, man, I wish I had another way to compress more time into a day, right? So I can not be in the basement. I could actually be upstairs, like playing with my daughters, or I could actually be talking to people at work and helping them be more secure at home versus being more secure at work. But you deal with what you can. You have to prioritize. And then in lieu of time, being able to just move fast as hell, right? And I think this is how Monster Energy is making a frickin' killing off of us, right? All the energy drinks. I mean, we got to start talking about our frickin' a collective addiction to energy drinks. That's next, right? That's probably the next DEF CON, like, social talk. It's going to be people need to chill on the Red Bull. But nonetheless, it's all good. So what we're going to have to do now is just accept that, yeah, you got to just deal with it again. It's just the repeat. And that's pretty much all I had for you guys. So, yes. Just because this bothers the hell out of me, and like I said, I have ADD, this is not a bird. Birds stopped having teeth 65 million years ago. Just saying. All right. Well, thank you for that. I think I earned my honorarium. Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys.